Chapter 1. The Crucible of Fate. Deep within the bowels of a massive separatist dreadnought, chaos reigned. The Republic's bold rescue mission to save Chancellor Palpatine had turned into a desperate battle for survival. Amidst the cacophony of alarms and distant explosions, three figures stood locked in mortal combat in a vast, dimly lit chamber. The cavernous space thrummed with an ominous energy as shadows danced across the metallic walls, cast by the ethereal glow of three lightsabers locked in a deadly dance. Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi and his former Padawan, Anakin Skywalker, stood shoulder to shoulder, their blades a symphony of azure light against the crimson beam of Count Dooku's weapon. The air crackled with tension, each combatant acutely aware of the stakes at hand.
Anakin, flank him. We must end this quickly.
Anakin pivoted, his lightsaber arcing through the air in a graceful sweep. Dooku parried with effortless precision, his silver beard twitching with a smirk that spoke volumes of his confidence.
Your skills have improved since our last encounter, young Skywalker, but not enough, I'm afraid. You'll find I'm full of surprises.
The Count's blade became a whirlwind of motion, forcing Anakin back. Obi-Wan lunged forward, attempting to break Dooku's concentration, but the Sith Lord's mastery of Makashi proved formidable, keeping both Jedi at bay with fluid, economical movements.
We end this today, Dooku. Your reign of terror stops here and now.
Across the chamber, bound to a chair, Chancellor Palpatine watched the duel unfold. His eyes glinted with an intensity that belied his seemingly helpless state, following every move with keen interest.
Bold words, Master Kenobi. Let us see if you can match them with action. Or will you falter, as you always have?
The clash of lightsabers filled the air, a cacophony of hums and crackles. Anakin pressed forward, his aggressive style a stark contrast to Obi-Wan's more measured approach. For a moment, it seemed as though the two Jedi might overwhelm their opponent, their coordinated attacks pushing Dooku to his limits. But Dooku was not so easily defeated. With a flick of his wrist, he sent a cascade of force lightning towards Obi-Wan, forcing the Jedi Master to defend himself. In that split second of distraction, Dooku's crimson blade found its mark. A heart-wrenching cry of pain echoed through the chamber as Dooku's lightsaber sliced across Anakin's chest. The young Jedi stumbled backward, his own weapon clattering to the floor, the sound reverberating in the sudden, terrible silence.
Anakin! No, Anakin! Hold on, my friend.
Obi-Wan's voice cracked with desperation as he watched his former Padawan collapse. He rushed to Anakin's side, momentarily forgetting the battle at hand, his heart pounding with fear and disbelief.
How disappointing. I expected more from Qui-Gon's apprentice. Is this truly the best the Jedi Order has to offer?
Obi-Wan cradled Anakin's head, feeling the young man's life force ebbing away. Anakin's eyes, once bright with determination, now clouded with pain and fear. His lips moved, forming silent words of apology and regret that tore at Obi-Wan's heart.
No, Anakin. Hold on, please. You can't leave me. Not like this. Stay with me, old friend.
But even as the words left his lips, Obi-Wan felt Anakin's presence in the Force flicker and fade. The chamber seemed to grow colder, darker, as if all the light had been sucked out of it, leaving only a void where once burned a brilliant star.
And so falls the Chosen One. How the mighty Jedi have declined. It's almost pitiable, really.
Something snapped within Obi-Wan. The calm, collected Jedi Master vanished, replaced by a maelstrom of grief and rage. He rose slowly, his lightsaber igniting with a vengeful hiss that seemed to echo his inner turmoil.
You will pay for this, Dooku. I swear it on everything I hold dear.
The air around Obi-Wan seemed to crackle with energy. His eyes, usually a serene blue, now burned with an intensity that made even Dooku take a step back. A flicker of uncertainty crossing the Sith Lord's face.
Come then, Kenobi. Show me your anger. Let it fuel you. Perhaps now you'll provide a real challenge.
Obi-Wan launched himself at Dooku with a ferocity that belied his Jedi training. His lightsaber became a blur of motion, striking with a speed and power that caught the Sith Lord off guard, forcing him to give ground.
Anakin, for all those you slaughtered in your mad quest for power.
Each clash of their blades sent sparks flying, illuminating the chamber in brief, violent flashes. Dooku found himself retreating, his usual grace and poise faltering in the face of Obi-Wan's relentless onslaught.
Yes, Kenobi. Embrace your hatred. It makes you stronger. Can you feel it coursing through you?
But Obi-Wan was beyond words now, his entire being focused on a single goal, destroying the man who had taken Anakin from him. He pressed forward relentlessly, driving Dooku back step by step, his attacks growing more vicious with each passing moment.
Finish him, Master Kenobi. Avenge your fallen apprentice. Show no mercy to this separatist scum.
The Chancellor's words seemed to echo in Obi-Wan's mind, fueling his rage. With a final devastating strike, he knocked Dooku's lightsaber aside and plunged his blade into the Count's chest.
Impossible. This cannot be. How could I... meet...
Dooku's eyes widened in shock and disbelief. He looked down at the blue beam of energy protruding from his chest, then back up at Obi-Wan. For a moment, their gazes locked, and something passed between them, a recognition, perhaps, of the darkness that now bound them both. As Dooku's body crumpled to the floor, Obi-Wan stood over him, chest heaving, lightsaber still humming with deadly intent. The rage that had fueled him began to ebb, leaving behind a hollow emptiness that threatened to consume him.
It's done, but at what cost? What have I become?
He turned back to where Anakin lay, the reality of his loss crashing over him anew. Palpatine's voice cut through the silence, smooth and almost soothing, a stark contrast to the turmoil in Obi-Wan's mind.
You have done well, Master Kenobi. Justice has been served. The galaxy is safer because of your actions today.
Obi-Wan looked up at the Chancellor, his mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. He had defeated Dooku, yes, but at what cost? The darkness he had touched lingered within him, a shadow on his soul that he feared might never fade.
Justice? Anakin is dead. What justice is there in that? How can anything ever be right again?
The galaxy is a harsh place, my friend, but you have shown great strength today. Perhaps
there is a way to ensure such tragedies never happen again. A way to bring true peace and order to our troubled times. Obi-Wan's gaze sharpened, focusing on Palpatine with newfound intensity. The Chancellor's words stirred something within him, a desperate hope, perhaps, or the first whispers of a darker ambition.
What do you mean? What way could there possibly be?
As alarms began to blare throughout the ship, signaling the chaos of the ongoing battle, Obi-Wan stood at a crossroads. The path of the Jedi lay behind him, stained with Anakin's blood. Before him, Palpatine offered a new way, one that promised power and the ability to shape the galaxy's destiny.
Come, Master Kenobi, we have much to discuss, and little time. The future of the Republic, nay, the galaxy itself, may well rest in your hands. Will you have the courage to do what must be done?
With one last look at Anakin's still form, Obi-Wan made his choice. He stepped towards Palpatine, leaving behind the shattered remnants of his old life. As they hurried from the chamber, neither man noticed the faint smile that played across the Chancellor's lips, the smile of a master strategist whose greatest gambit had just begun to unfold. The descent begins. As the Separatist flagship shuddered and began to break apart, General Grievous had made his cowardly escape. The Republic cruiser now sliced through the inky void of space, bearing its passengers away from the scene of tragedy. Within its sterile confines, Obi-Wan Kenobi sat motionless, his eyes fixed on some distant point beyond the viewport. The victory over Count Dooku felt hollow, overshadowed by the crushing weight of Anakin's loss. Chancellor Palpatine's words echoed in his mind, a sinister whisper amidst the turmoil of his thoughts. The journey back to Coruscant passed in a haze of grief and unspoken recriminations. Days blurred into weeks. Obi-Wan's isolation deepened, a chasm widening between him and his fellow Jedi. He avoided the common areas, taking his meals alone in his quarters. When summoned to council meetings, he spoke only when directly addressed, his responses terse and devoid of emotion. One evening, as Coruscant's sun dipped below the horizon, Chancellor Palpatine's hologram flickered to life in Obi-Wan's cortisol.
Master Kenobi, I hope I'm not intruding. I've been terribly worried about you since your return.
Obi-Wan's hand hovered over the comm, hesitating for a moment before answering.
Chancellor, how can I be of assistance?
My dear friend, it is I who wish to assist you. Perhaps you'd care to join me for a moment? I fear the temple's walls must feel rather confining at present.
Obi-Wan's eyes narrowed, but he found himself nodding.
I'll be there shortly, Chancellor.
The opulent office of the Supreme Chancellor stood in stark contrast to the austere halls of the Jedi Temple. Palpatine greeted Obi-Wan with a warm smile, his eyes twinkling with what appeared to be genuine concern.
Obi-Wan, my boy, you look dreadful. Please, sit.
Obi-Wan sank into a plush chair, suddenly aware of the bone-deep weariness that plagued him.
I must say, I've been rather disappointed in the Jedi Council's handling of this tragedy. tragedy. One would think they'd show more compassion.
Obi-Wan's fingers tightened, his eyes fixed on a distant point.
The Jedi way is to release our emotions into the Force, to not form attachments.
And yet, is it not attachment that drives us to protect others, to fight for what is right? I wonder sometimes if the Jedi's detachment might be a weakness rather than a strength.
The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Obi-Wan found himself nodding slowly.
I've had similar thoughts, Chancellor, but such doubts are not the Jedi way.
Perhaps it's time to question that way, my friend. After all, it was the Jedi way that sent young Anakin to his death, was it not?
Obi-Wan's head snapped up, his eyes meeting Palpatine's. For a moment he thought he saw a flash of yellow in the Chancellor's gaze, but it was gone in an instant.
I should know.
Of course. But remember, Obi-Wan, my door is always open to you. Sometimes an outsider's perspective can be illuminating.
As Obi-Wan left the Chancellor's office, his mind whirled with conflicting thoughts. The seeds of doubt, so carefully planted by Palpatine, began to take root. The Jedi Master found himself wandering the Senate halls, lost in thought. A familiar voice broke through his reverie.
Obi-Wan, is that you?
He turned to see Senator Amidala approaching, her face a mixture of concern and relief.
Senator, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to intrude.
Nonsense. I've been worried about you. We all have.
Her hand reached out, gently touching his arm. The simple gesture of comfort nearly undid him. Her hand reached out, gently touching his arm. The simple gesture of comfort nearly undid him.
Padme, I don't know what to do. Everything feels wrong.
Tears glistened in Padme's eyes as she pulled Obi-Wan into an embrace.
I know, I miss him too, but we have to be strong for Anakin's memory.
Chapter 3, The Catalyst. The Coruscant night pulsed with an eerie energy as Obi-Wan Kenobi stood atop a towering skyscraper, his keen eyes scanning the bustling streets below. His comlink crackled to life, Chancellor Palpatine's silky voice slicing through the static.
Master Kenobi, I have grave news. Our intelligence suggests a group of separatist agents have infiltrated an abandoned warehouse in the industrial sector. They're planning an attack that could devastate the Republic. You must act swiftly and decisively.
Chancellor, shouldn't this information go through official Jedi channels?
There's no time, my friend. I fear there may be leaks within the Council itself. You're the only one I can trust with this delicate matter.
Doubt flickered across Obi-Wan's face, but the urgency in Palpatine's voice compelled him to action. He made his way to the warehouse, his senses on high alert. As he entered, shadows danced in the dim light, and the hum of his ignited lightsaber filled the air.
In the name of the Galactic Republic, surrender.
Movement caught his eye. A figure emerged from the shadows, hands raised in surrender. To Obi-Wan's shock, it was a face he recognized, a fellow Jedi Knight named Kira Voss.
Master Kenobi, what are you doing here?
Kira, I'm here to stop separatist agents.
Separatists? That's impossible. We're here on a council-sanctioned mission to uncover corruption within the Senate.
Confusion clouded Obi-Wan's mind. Before he could process this information, blaster fire erupted from the rafters. In the chaos that ensued, Obi-Wan's lightsaber became a blur of motion, deflecting bolts and striking at unseen assailants.
Kira, get down.
But as the last body fell, a sickening realization dawned on him. These were no separatists. The unseeing eyes staring back at him belonged to his fellow Jedi, including Kira. Obi-Wan's lightsaber clattered to the ground. He fell to his knees, his body racked with sobs. The stench of ozone and charred flesh filled his nostrils, a grim reminder of his terrible mistake.
No, it can't be. What have I done?
As Obi-Wan knelt there, overwhelmed by grief and confusion, his calm link crackled to life. Chancellor Palpatine's voice came through, filled with concern.
Master Kenobi, report. Have you neutralized the separatist threat?
Chancellor, I didn't know. They were Jedi. I've killed my own brothers and sisters.
Oh, my dear boy, what a tragedy. It appears we were both deceived.
Deceived? But the intelligence, it came from you.
A terrible misfortune, I'm afraid. It seems our intelligence networks have been compromised. We must be more cautious than ever.
The Chancellor's words slithered into Obi-Wan's mind, coiling around his thoughts like a venomous serpent.
The Jedi Council is not what it seems, Obi-Wan. They manipulate, they deceive, just as they deceived you about Anakin's potential.
No, that's not possible. The Council, they wouldn't.
Search your feelings, Obi-Wan. You know it to be true.
Obi-Wan's gaze swept over the fallen Jedi, their unseeing eyes accusing him. The weight of his actions crushed down upon him, threatening to suffocate him.
What am I to do now? The Council will never forgive this.
You need not face this alone, my friend. I can protect you, shield you from their judgment.
The Chancellor's words were a lifeline to the drowning Jedi. Obi-Wan grasped at it desperately, his moral compass spinning wildly.
You would do that for me?
Of course, together we can bring true peace to the galaxy. No more deception, no more needlessly sacrifice.
Chapter 4, An Unexpected Seduction. The Coruscant skyline shimmered like a tapestry of distant stars, its myriad lights a stark contrast to the tumultuous darkness that had settled in Obi-Wan's heart. The Jedi Master stood on the balcony of Padme's apartment, his shoulders hunched under the weight of recent events, his mind a maelstrom of conflicting emotions.
Obi-Wan, I hadn't expected to see you here tonight.
Her voice, rich with concern and a hint of something deeper, drew him from his reverie. He turned, his storm gray eyes meeting her warm brown ones, finding a reflection of his own pain and longing.
Forgive my intrusion, Padme. I found myself unable to face the solitude of my quarters. The silence, it's deafening.
Padme stepped closer, her silk robe rustling softly in the night breeze. The moonlight caught the unshed tears glistening in her eyes, transforming them into liquid silver.
There's no need for apologies, Obi-Wan. Not between us. Not anymore.
Her words hung in the air, laden with unspoken meaning. Obi-Wan's hand trembled as he reached out, his fingers brushing against hers. The simple touch sent a jolt through both of them, a spark of connection that ignited something long suppressed.
You're the only one who truly understands, Padme. The only one who knew him as we did. This loss.
It's consuming, overwhelming. I feel as though I'm drowning in it sometimes.
Their eyes locked, and in that moment, something shifted. The air between them grew thick with tension, years of unspoken desires and shared pain coalescing into a tangible force.
Padme,
Words failed him as Padme closed the distance between them. A hand cupped his cheek, thumb gently tracing the line of his beard. Their lips met, hesitant at first, then with growing urgency. Years of repressed emotions and shared anguish poured into the kiss.
I need you, Obi-Wan. Not just as a friend, not just as a confidant. I need all of you.
We shouldn't. The code.
Damn the code. Damn everything that's kept us apart. Haven't we sacrificed enough?
Her words ignited a fire within him. Obi-Wan pulled her close, his kiss deepening with newfound passion. Clothes fell away as they stumbled into the dimly lit bedroom, hands exploring, seeking comfort and connection in each other's embrace. Their lovemaking was intense, a symphony of passion and need. Every touch, every caress spoke of years of longing finally unleashed. Obi-Wan's connection to the Force seemed to heighten their experience, allowing him to sense Padme's deepest desires and respond with a precision that bordered on the intuitive. His movements were fluid, almost choreographed, as if guided by an unseen energy.
Oh, Obi-Wan, this feels different. You're so attuned to me, so in sync. It's as if you found a way to harmonize our bodies, to make every moment perfect. I must admit, I've never felt this level of connection before. You seem more complete, more fulfilling than anyone I've ever known.
The Force binds us, connects us on a level beyond the physical. It allows me to sense your every need, to respond in ways that are beyond mere skill.
In the aftermath, they lay tangled in silk sheets, the weight of their actions settling upon them. Obi-Wan traced patterns on Padme's bare shoulder, his voice husky with emotion.
I've never felt this way before. It's as if you've unlocked a part of me that I never knew existed. This is more than I've ever experienced. You bring a depth, a completeness that I've never known.
What have we done, Padme?
Something we both needed. Something real. Something human in a galaxy that's lost its way.
She turned to face him, her eyes searching his.
Do you regret it?
I should. Everything I've been taught tells me I should, but I don't. Force help me. I don't regret a moment.
As dawn broke over Coruscant, casting long shadows across the room, Obi-Wan and Padme found themselves irrevocably changed. Their shared grief had transformed into something new, something powerful and potentially dangerous in a galaxy teetering on the brink of chaos.
Where do we go from here, Obi-Wan?
I don't know, but I do know that I can't go back to the way things were. Not after this. Not after you.
their fingers intertwined, a physical manifestation of the new bond forged between them. As they lay there, the weight of the future pressed upon them, filled with uncertainty and the looming specter of darkness that threatened to engulf the galaxy. Yet in that moment, wrapped in each other's arms, they found a glimmer of hope, a reason to fight against the encroaching shadows. Chapter 5. A New Power. The Coruscant skyline glittered like a sea of stars, its towering spires reaching towards the heavens. In the shadows of one such edifice, a lone figure stood, his silhouette etched against the cityscape. Obi-Wan Kenobi's eyes, once bright with hope, now held a haunted gleam.
What have I become?
His whisper was lost to the wind, carried away into the night. The weight of recent events pressed upon him, each memory a dagger twisting in his heart. The death of Anakin, the blood of fellow Jedi on his hands, the forbidden passion shared with Padme, all of it threatened to crush his very soul.
Troubled, my friend?
The Chancellor's voice, smooth as silk, cut through Obi-Wan's reverie. Palpatine emerged from the shadows, his presence both comforting and unsettling.
Chancellor, i.e., I didn't expect to find you here.
The burdens of leadership often lead me to seek solitude, but perhaps it is no coincidence that we meet here tonight.
Palpatine's eyes gleamed with an intensity that sent a shiver down Obi-Wan's spine. The Jedi Master found himself drawn into the Chancellor's orbit, desperate for any wisdom that might ease his torment.
The Jedi teachings, they feel hollow now, empty platitudes in the face of such loss.
Ah, yes, the limitations of Jedi doctrine. Tell me, Obi-Wan, have you ever considered that there might be more to the Force than what your masters have taught you?
Obi-Wan's brow furrowed, a spark of curiosity igniting within him.
What do you mean?
There are abilities some would consider unnatural, ancient powers, forgotten knowledge, the ability to prevent death itself.
The Chancellor's words hung in the air, heavy with promise. Obi-Wan's heart raced, his mind reeling with possibilities.
Such power. Is it possible to learn this?
Not from a Jedi.
The air crackled with tension as Palpatine's eyes met Obi-Wan's. In that moment, the facade fell away, revealing the truth that had been hidden for so long.
I am Darth Sidious, Lord of the Sith, and I offer you the key to unlocking your true potential.
Obi-Wan's hand instinctively moved to his lightsaber, but he hesitated. The dark side called to him, a siren song promising an end to his suffering.
You're the Sith Lord we've been searching for.
Indeed, but ask yourself, Obi-Wan, have the Jedi truly served you? Have their teachings brought you peace? Or have they left you broken, consumed by guilt and loss? Off.
Obi-Wan's mind raced, memories flashing before his eyes. Kagan's death, Anakin's fall, the blood of innocence on his hands. Each failure, each loss, a testament to the inadequacy of the Jedi way.
I don't know what to believe anymore.
Then let me show you the true nature of the Force. Join me, and together we can bring order to the galaxy. No more senseless death, no more tragedy. You have the power to shape the future, Obi-Wan. Embrace it.
Obi-Wan stood on the precipice, teetering between light and dark. In that moment, he made his choice. With trembling legs, he lowered himself to one knee before Sidious.
I pledge myself to your teachings, my master.
A cruel smile twisted Palpatine's lips as he placed a hand on Obi-Wan's bowed head.
Good. Henceforth, you shall be known as Darth. Bleak, rise, my apprentice.
As Obi-Wan rose, his eyes glowed with a sickly yellow hue. The Jedi Master was no more. In his place stood Darth Bleak, a new Sith Lord born from the ashes of tragedy and despair. The galaxy trembled as Emperor Palpatine unleashed Order 66, transforming loyal clone troopers into merciless Jedi killers. At the forefront of this brutal purge stood Darth Bleak, once known as Obi-Wan Kenobi, now the Emperor's merciless enforcer. Chapter 6. The Empire. In the smoldering ruins of the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, Bleak surveyed the carnage with cold satisfaction. Bodies of fallen Jedi littered the once sacred halls. The acrid stench of scorched flesh and melted durasteel permeated the air.
Report, Commander Bakara.
My lord, a temple has been secured. No survivors remain. The 21st Nova Corps awaits your next command.
Bleak's sickly yellow eyes narrowed as he probed the Force. A flicker of something regret, nostalgia, passed through him, quickly suppressed.
Excellent. Prepare my ship. We have more work to do.
As Bleak strode through the ruins, his boot crushed a fallen Padawan's braid. He paused, staring at the singed strands of hair for a long moment before continuing on, his black cloak billowing behind him. Days turned to weeks as the relentless hunt continued. Bleak's intimate knowledge of Jedi hideouts plots and secret protocols proved invaluable to the Empire's cause. On Mygeeto, he led a squadron of TIE fighters to obliterate a hidden enclave. The frozen planet's surface erupted in flames as Jedi refugees were cut down, their lightsabers no match for the Empire's superior firepower. In the swamps of Felucia, Bleak personally tracked a group of fleeing Padawans. The humid air crackled with ozone as his crimson lightsaber clashed against their blue and green blades. One by one they fell, their bodies sinking into the murky waters. On Kashyyyk, Bleak faced Jedi Master Luminara Unduli, who had rallied the Wookiees to her cause. The battle raged through the towering Rosha trees, lightsabers carving glowing arcs through the misty air.
Obi-Wan, please, this isn't you. Remember who you are.
Bleak's face contorted with rage at the sound of his former name.
Obi-Wan Kenobi is dead. I am Darth Bleak, and you will join him in oblivion.
With a savage thrust, Bleak impaled Luminara. As she fell, her eyes filled not with hatred, but with pity. The sight haunted Bleak, though he refused to acknowledge it. On Cato Nemoidia, Bleak led a battalion of stormtroopers against the Jedi stronghold. The city's famous bridge cities became a battleground, blaster fire and lightsaber blades illuminating the night sky.
Burn it all, Commander Bakara. Leave no stone unturned, no hiding place unchecked.
As you command, Lord Bleak, the 21st Nova Corps will not fail you.
As the cities blazed, Bleak felt a disturbance in the Force. A young Jedi Knight, Barriss Offee, stood before him, lightsaber trembling in her grasp.
Master Kenobi, why? We trusted you. Why, Wol Jacin, we trusted you.
Your trust was misplaced, as was mine in the Jedi Order.
The duel was brief and brutal. Barriss's form was impeccable, but she was no match for Bleak's experience and dark power. As she fell, Bleak felt a twinge of something. He crushed the feeling ruthlessly. Suddenly, a holographic transmission flickered to life before Commander Bakara.
Commander Bakara, the time has come. You are to return to Coruscant immediately.
As you command, Your Excellency.
Inform Lord Bleak that his presence is required as well. The capital awaits your arrival.
Send word to Lord Bleak. We're returning to Coruscant.
The hologram faded, leaving Bakara to relay the orders. He turned to the communications officer. Across the ship, Darth Bleak felt a disturbance in the Force. The Emperor's summons resonated through his being, pulling him back to the heart of the Empire. As the cruiser's engines roared to life, Bleak's thoughts turned to Padme and the confrontation that awaited him on Coruscant. The Imperial Palace loomed against Coruscant's skyline, a monument to the newfound power of the Sith. Within its opulent halls, Darth Bleak strode with purpose, his black cloak billowing behind him. The Force swirled around him, dark and potent, as he approached the private chambers where Padme Amidala awaited. The Force swirled around him, dark and potent, as he approached the private chambers where Padme Amidala awaited.
Padme, I'll do what I must. Padme, I'll do what I must.
His voice, once warm and gentle, now carried an edge of steel. Padme turned, her eyes widening as she beheld the man who was once Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan, what have you become?
I've become what I needed to be. What the galaxy needs me to be.
He stepped closer, his golden eyes boring into hers. Padme instinctively retreated, her back pressing against the transparent steel window overlooking the sprawling cityscape.
This isn't you. This isn't what Anakin would have wanted.
At the mention of his fallen apprentice, Bleak's face contorted with a mixture of pain and rage.
Anakin is dead. The Jedi failed him. They failed us all.
His gloved hand reached out, not quite touching her cheek.
But we can make it right, Padme. Together.
Make it right? By crushing freedom? By ruling through fear?
By bringing order. By ending the chaos that has plagued this galaxy for far too long.
Padme's eyes flashed with defiance, a spark of the fierce senator she once was.
At what cost, Obi-Wan? Look at what you've already done. The Jedi.
The Jedi were weak, corrupted. They couldn't see what needed to be done.
He paced the room, his passion building with each word.
But I see it now, Padme. I see the path to true peace, and I want you by my side as we walk it out.
You're asking me to betray everything I believe in.
I'm asking you to open your eyes to a greater truth.
He turned back to her, his gaze softening for a moment.
I love you, Padme. I have for longer than I care to admit. Together, we can reshape this galaxy. No more war, no more suffering, just order and prosperity.
Padme's breath caught in her throat. For a fleeting moment, she saw a glimmer of the man she had grown to care for, but as quickly as it appeared, it vanished, replaced by the cold mask of Darth Bleak.
The Obi-Wan I knew would never ask this of me. He would understand that love without freedom is no love at all.
Her words struck him like physical blows. Bleak's face hardened, his eyes blazing with renewed fury.
Then you are lost, just like the rest of them.
With a gesture, the door to the chamber slammed shut. Padme's hand flew to her throat as an invisible force constricted around it.
If you will not stand with me willingly, then you will bear witness to the true power of the Empire.
Padme gasped for air, her eyes wide with fear and sorrow.
Obi-Wan, please.
But her pleas fell on deaf ears. Darth Bleak, once the paragon of Jedi virtue, now stood as the embodiment of Sith dominance. With Padme as his prisoner and the galaxy cowering before him, the dark side reigned supreme. The last vestiges of hope faded as night fell on the Republic, heralding a new age of Imperial rule.